Thank you, Director Gacki. We'll now turn to member questions, and I recognize myself for 5 minutes for questioning. Director Gacki, in your very thorough opening statement and written testimony, I appreciate that you highlight your efforts and the efforts of FinCEN to counter cartels, to counter Iran and other threats to the United States, to confront human, sex, child trafficking, to look at scam centers that are exploiting our seniors in particular, and to modernize your tools that you're using both internally and also responding to the market in an era where digital assets have the opportunity to thrive, and people are also finding ways to use those, as they have every other form of payment, for illicit finance. So thank you for your work, and I appreciate your openness to some reforms on how to be more effective in that. And I want to highlight one of those is the beneficial ownership disclosure, because it seems that you've made a decision to be, frankly, to focus on collecting information about U.S. citizens differently than you collect about non-citizens. And I think that's important because our Constitution limits the ability to presume that someone's guilty of a crime. You're supposed to have probable cause and a warrant to get some information. Beneficial ownership, as drafted in the previous administration, basically assumed every business was engaged in illicit finance and they had to provide collected material. I think it's unconstitutional, but as the courts fight this out, you've stepped in. So could you give us an update on progress towards that and what issues would be helpful for Congress to clarify?
Thank you, Chair Davidson, for your question. And I also wanted to recognize the letter that you and other members and senators sent to Secretary Davidson yesterday on the Corporate Transparency Act and the way forward. And wanted to stress that the March 2025 interim final rule that FinCEN issued took a different approach consistent with administration priorities. As a career civil servant, I have served across administrations and am proud of my track record in implementing presidential policy. And the presidential policy changed with respect to the Corporate Transparency Act, focusing and making sure that the burdens on 30+ million small businesses were taken into account. And so FinCEN adjusted the reporting structure for the interim final rule in this past March and opened it up for questions. The present rule requires reports from foreign reporting companies that are not subject to any exemptions, and they are required only to report foreign beneficial owners. We intend to finalize this rule in the upcoming year. That's our public commitment. And we're working through administration, making sure we have administration guidance in, and working through the number of comments that we received to the interim final rule. And along with the resolution of the rule, we intend to resolve questions around the data that we gained and dispose of data that is no longer legally required to be filed. So we look forward to concluding that this year.
Yep, thank you, and I'll ask, without objection, unanimous consent to submit the letter that I sent to Secretary Davidson and others directing as addressed. So thank you for addressing that, and look forward to your answer and working with you to get the law to match what the administration's intent is, and I appreciate the effort, your effort and FinCEN's efforts to align there. I'd also like to ask unanimous consent, without objection, to submit for the record a press release from the Judiciary Committee on fraud. It's titled Fraud on ActBlue. New report details potential illegal activity on the Democrat fundraising platform from April 2nd, 2025. This is an example of financial crime where people are being attributed to have given substantial sums of money, and then when they're interviewed, they don't even have that kind of money. They're not giving it, and the question is, where's that money coming from? Can you comment on that ongoing investigation?
Thank you, Chair Davidson. I know that my team is actively working with members in Congress to review our data to ensure that we are providing up-to-date information on that ongoing investigation.
Are you working with the Department of Justice on it?
We're working with congressional oversight committees looking into this.
So at this point, DOJ's inactive?
I'm sorry, I do not know the status of DOJ's.
But they're not
DOJ's.
active with FinCEN.
Well, DOJ has access to our data.
Correct.
And they are able to view it, consistent with the protections we have in place. And I defer to them on their investigation.
Thank you. My time has